I thought writing it would be primarily about the book. What it actually turned into was the single most clarifying exercise I've ever done on my entire professional stance. And that's huge. The fog clears, the noise falls away, and what you're left with is an extraordinary level of clarity. This is the Born to be Brilliant podcast, helping you harness the habits and unlock the tools to bring you more meaning, vibrance, and the personal power to help you shine like the diamond you are. I want to talk to you today about something I almost didn't share publicly. Not because it's shameful or difficult, it's actually the opposite of that. I almost didn't share it because there's a part of me that felt like it was too personal, too much of a work in progress, too vulnerable to put out into the world when I'm still in the middle of it, really. And then I caught myself because the whole reason Born to be Brilliant exists, the entire premise of everything I do, is about having the courage to be seen, to use your voice, to stop being the reason the world can't hear you. So, here we are. I'm writing a book. It's called Born to be Brilliant, Stop Being the Reason the World Can't Hear You. And several weeks ago now, I did something that took more courage than I'd like to admit. I submitted a proposal for it to the Hay House Writers Workshop competition. So if those of you that don't know, Hay House is one of the most prestigious mind, body, spirit publishers in the world. Authors like Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, Brené Brown, Gabrielle Bernstein. That's the kind of world this publisher lives in, and it's the world I belong in with my work. Today, I want to tell you about what the process of writing that proposal actually taught me, not just about the book, but about my entire business, because it fundamentally changed how I think about my message, my audience, and what I am here to do. So let me tell you what the book is actually about, because I think when you hear it, you're going to recognize yourself in it. Born to be Brilliant. Stop being the reason the world can't hear you. It's a book about the gap between who you are and who you're allowing yourself to be seen as. It's for the person who's something genuinely important to say, a business to build or a message to share, a contribution to make in this world, but who keeps getting in their own way through fear, through perfectionism, through the deeply ingrained belief that they're not quite ready, not quite qualified, not quite enough. Sound familiar? I've come to understand through nearly 3 decades of building businesses and watching other people build theirs that the single biggest constraint on most entrepreneurs isn't their strategy, their skills, or their market. It's the noise inside their own head that convinces them to stay smaller than they were born to be. The world is full of brilliant people, full of them, who are being quiet when they should be speaking, or they're hiding when they should be visible, or waiting for permission that nobody is going to give them. And the cost of that, not just personally, but to all the people whose lives they could have changed if they just had the courage to show up fully, is unfathomable. That is what this book is here to address. And it's also the most personal thing I've ever written. In the book, you're going to get glimpses into my own story as well. And stories of my voice loss, and voice loss physically and metaphorically. So I actually had a lot of problems with voice loss when I was a professional singer and vocalist, and physically having nodules on my vocal cords that meant that I was unable to, or struggled to, sing and perform, which was actually how I made a living and survived. So voice loss in the physical sense, but you're also going to hear about voice loss in the metaphorical sense of dimming your light and playing small after being attacked, being bullied, being, in all the ways. So there's loads of stories in the book as well, which I think you'll find really relatable. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because I want to talk about the actual process of writing the book proposal And the reason I want to do that is because I think it's one of the most useful exercises any entrepreneur can put themselves through, whether you're writing a book or not. A Hay House proposal is not a short document. It requires you to articulate with real precision a number of things that most of us think we know about our businesses, but we haven't actually ever written them down properly. So you have to be able to say in one clear sentence what your book is about and who it's for. You have to demonstrate that you understand your audience. And I don't mean in a vague demographic kind of way, but really understand them, what they're struggling with, what they secretly wish for, what they've already tried that hasn't worked, what they're afraid of, what they need to hear that nobody else is saying to them. You have to articulate your unique perspective, what it's about you, like your particular combination of experience, knowledge, and point of view that means you are the right person to write this book, not just a qualified person, the only person. You have to map out the entire arc of the book, chapter by chapter, so that it's clear that the content is genuinely structured and thought through, not just a collection of loosely related ideas or blogs. And you also have to make it make commercial sense. You need to be able to explain, who is buying this? Why now? What makes it different from everything else that's already on the shelf? And how will you market it effectively? It's really powerful sitting down to work on something like this. And it surprised me, actually, how much thought provoking it did. Like, I had to sit with some things and ideas for quite some time. There were some walks involved and refinements. It's deeper than just some surface level intellectual exercise. Here's what I didn't expect. I thought writing it would be primarily about the book. What it actually turned into was the single most clarifying exercise I've ever done on my entire professional stance. And that's huge. So I'm already grateful for the experience, because when you're forced to articulate with that level of precision who you're talking to and what you're saying and why you're the one saying it, something happens within. It's like the fog clears, the noise falls away, and what you're left with is an extraordinary level of clarity about your message, your mission, and the person you exist to serve. And it may not be what you thought it was when you first picked up your pen or sat down at that keyboard. And that's definitely the case for me. I came out of writing that proposal knowing things about Born to be Brilliant that I had sensed, but I'd never managed to actually find the words for before. I knew more precisely who my audience really is. I knew more precisely what the transformation is that I'm actually offering. I knew more precisely what makes my perspective unique, not just different, but specifically, valuably unique in a market that is crowded with voices saying vaguely similar things. And once you've seen that light, you don't unsee it. It's really special. And I want to suggest to you that this is an exercise worth doing for your own business, whether you ever write a book or not. Sit down and try to answer these questions in writing. So I'm going to give these to you right now, and we can pop these in the show notes if it helps. What is the one thing you do for your clients in one clear sentence? Who specifically is the person who needs it most? And what is going on for them right now that means they need it? Why are you the right person to offer this? Not just a qualified person, I don't want credentials here. The right person. What combination of experience, knowledge, and lived understanding makes your perspective genuinely one of a kind? What has your ideal client already tried that hasn't solved the problem, and why hasn't it? What do they need to believe about themselves, about the solution, about what's possible in order to say yes to you? I think this, in writing my proposal, really helped me to see how I do and don't want to go about what I do, and how the dots kind of connect. So that's something it really did for me. Like, it took me out of any kind of box I was trying to squish myself into, and enabled me to really feel like, I don't know, a butterfly whose wings could finally spread. So I want to share something with you because I think it matters. Submitting that proposal was scary. I don't mean in the obvious, vague, general anxiety kind of way. In a very specific, what if they read this and decide I'm not good enough kind of way. And I think that's important to acknowledge, that the person talking to you about having the courage to show up and be seen is also a person who has to work through exactly the same fears. I'm not immune to this. And I don't say that to undermine my credibility. I say it because I think one of the most dishonest things people in my position could do is present themselves as having transcended the human experience of fear. I haven't transcended it. What I've developed over a long time and through a lot of practice is the ability to feel it and act anyway. That's the whole game, not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to move with it in the passenger seat. And I'll tell you what I reminded myself when I pressed submit on that proposal. That's the hardest bit for me. It's the perfectionist part. It's that everything's fine and it's like, just press the button. I reminded myself that the worst thing that could happen is that it doesn't win a book deal. That's the worst thing. And if it doesn't win, the book still gets written and it still gets published faster, actually, because I was always going to write the book. I needed help getting clear on exactly how that book and what that book was to take shape. I kind of knew it, but this made me get that pinned down. The Hay House competition is an incredible opportunity. Winning it would be extraordinary. And it would be the external validation. It would be a good nudge and feeling of being held as well in the journey. It would be amazing, of course. But not winning it changes nothing about the importance of the work or my commitment to bringing it into the world. And I get valuable feedback on the proposal no matter what. And I can take that feedback into the rest of the manuscript and the final publication. So let's bring this back to you now, because that's always where this needs to end up. I've talked today about a book I'm writing and a proposal I submitted. But underneath all of that, what I'm really talking about is this: the work of being seen, the work of saying, I have something to say and I believe it's worth saying. And I'm going to say it even though there's a part of me that's afraid. That work doesn't stop. It doesn't get easier, exactly. It gets more familiar, which makes it feel maybe a little easier. The fear doesn't disappear, but your relationship with it changes. And every time you act in spite of it, you build something, you grow. You get a track record with yourself, like a body of evidence that contradicts the voice that says you're not ready. It's like building a muscle, just gets stronger over time. And that, in a nutshell, is what Born to be Brilliant is about. It's about building that body of evidence. It's about developing the inner infrastructure, the psychology, the belief, the courage, the community, the skills as well, that allow you to show up fully and do the work you're actually here to do. And all of that work, every part of that work can be done, can be accessed inside of eSchool, which is every reason why I built a home for that. I'll leave a link in the show notes as well, so you can find out more about that. If today has resonated with you, and I'd genuinely love to know, what is the thing you've been putting off because some part of you decided you weren't ready yet? Come and tell me. Please come and tell me. A good place to connect with me is on Instagram. I am Lucy Shrimpton is my handle. I read everything. If this episode has landed for you, please share it, because I know there is someone in your world who needs to hear this today. And the more shared and heard this episode is, the more it will be seen and it will spread to others who need it. Someone who's been quieter than they should be, or someone who's been waiting for a permission slip that they need to give themselves, this episode could be it. I hope it is for you. I hope it is for somebody you share it with. Until next time, you were born to be brilliant. Don't let anyone or anything convince you otherwise. See you soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember, go out there and shine your light bright because you were born to be brilliant.